It finally happened. Deltarune Chapter 5 is here! Oh, the sun is shining, the flowers are gay, and the fans have turned on Toby Fox. Because Toby Fox can't tell stories anymore. He only knows jokes and anime. That's not good writing. If he was a good writer, then he would have answered all of our questions about Wing-Ding Gaster, the royal scientist, and his gay cat with homophobia. Oh, it's not very surprising to see that this chapter is getting met with this kind of pushback. I mean, as juvenile as a lot of fans are acting on Twitter, I can give them a bit of a pass. Chapter 3 ended with this crazy-ass reveal for the night, and that momentum carried all the way through Chapter 4 with some juicy bits of world building to sink your teeth into. We have had a year to savor the content from the last release, and I think there were a lot of people who expected Chapter 5 to keep going on that hot streak of big reveals and story beats. I'm glad that this chapter took a step back because it gives us a moment to actually breathe and contemplate before charging into the real endgame. Look, you gotta remember that these Twitter fans are like 16, and I was 16 when Undertale came out. I get it! You get swept up in this commotion and you lose sight of what really matters. Good storytelling. A 16-year-old mind cannot comprehend the idea of good pacing or characterization. This is not a narrative that is going to exclusively cater to the Reddit ARG Easter egg hunters. If you are playing Deltarune with the genuine expectation of meeting Ding Dong Gaster, then I'm sorry, but you need to get help before you develop serious psychosis. Forget everything you know. The narrator from the beginning of Chapter 1 might as well have been a guy named Sneevis. We're gonna go into his bunker and play hacky sack with him, and it's gonna be funny. It's okay if things don't go the way you expected. What we need to do is sit back and appreciate what was given to us. Because we did get a fuck ton this chapter. Let's start out by saying, I think this is the most straightforward chapter in the game, but at times it can feel like it's the most cryptic. I think a lot of this comes down to just how direct this chapter is with its themes and messaging. Right out the gate, the first thing you do is go through Asriel's drawers and bam, love letter made out to Des. It's the chapter of love. Love is in the air. Every time I return to hometown, it's such a delight getting to see how things have changed since I last visited. It feels like I grew up here. Everything involving Susie's date with Noelle was handled perfectly. From the moment we get to Castletown, we are so wrapped up in making sure she'll have a wonderful day that we probably won't question how long she had been there before we arrived. I played my part and tried to run like the best third wheel I could, and when we got to the lake, I was fist pumping in the air so hard. I'm so glad we are finally at the festival. It's such a great backdrop for all these characters, and it felt like this chapter, we were getting a lot of payoff for some of the smaller, slice-of-life storylines. Toby Fox has really managed to create a sense of community in both the light and dark worlds. Over these past couple chapters, we keep seeing the positive influence people can leave on each other, and how it snowballs into a series of positive events over time. Susie is the poster child for this idea. Comparing how her time with us and the Darkners has completely changed her for the better is such a beautiful thing to witness. Now, my only gripe for this section of the game is how small it felt. Since the beginning, the festival felt like it was this looming event on the horizon. There was a lot of anticipation built for something large scale. I'm not even trying to say that I wanted a bunch of crazy plot developments and world-ending events, but I did expect a bit more than what we got. In its current form, it felt like we got to briefly touch on a couple festival activities, and then we fucked off at the lake for the rest of it. My greed is insatiable. I know these are the last opportunities we have to interact with these characters before the mega shit hits the Ultra fan. So I want to maximize the slice of life drama as much as possible. Give me more Birdly. Give me as much as you can, Toby. Give me Birdly. I want more Birdly. Maybe the wisest decision was to have the Suzelle scene happen while we were fucking off, because at the end of the day, that mattered more than anything going on at the festival, which is what I would have said if I was a loser who cared about any of that. None of that bullshit matters. You don't play Deltarune for the cutesy town antics, you play it for the new Dark World content. That's the real-ass video game. And this chapter wastes no time getting back into the swing of things. Structurally, it returns to the flow established in Chapter 1 and 2. You progress through a selection of areas before you reach the big awesome palace, and along the way, the chapter's designated silly guy will interrupt your progress for the Toby Fox Comedy Hour. Who is the silly guy for this chapter? Why, it's Flowery, of course! Keep up! I really appreciate how quickly this chapter manages to both introduce Flowery and establish his motivation and character nuance. It's very similar to how they rolled out Queen in Chapter 2, except this time there was a major difference in tone. Everything Flowery does in Act 1 is framed as a Toby Fox Comedy Hour, but it feels a lot more artificial and hostile than before. He's probably my favorite antagonist in the series so far because of this. While Queen and Tenna are actively trying to entice the main cast deeper into the Dark World, Flowery has his focus set on appealing to Asgore. It makes all of our interactions feel like an afterthought as we are excluded and dismissed from the fantasy world being sold to Asgore. This is such a brilliant perspective to take after the vibe shift in Chapter 4. We are placed on the other side of the glass. If darkness is a stand-in for imagination, then this chapter takes the unique approach of trying to prevent someone from losing sight of reality and falling into the abyss. Flowery is such an effective antagonist because we get to see how he ties so many themes and character arcs together. He is the glue of Chapter 5. He reinforces that overarching focus on love by showing how it can be twisted against people. The love Flowery feels towards Asgore is real, but the way he pursues it is by luring him deeper into the darkness, and it's extremely unhealthy. But Flowery isn't the only shakeup in the Chapter 1 and 2 formula. The moment-to-moment gameplay is much more refined this time around. In Chapter 2, it felt like we were hitting the limit of what Toby Fox was capable of as a programmer, but since Chapter 3, it feels like the expanded team keeps cooking up new gameplay mechanics and throwing them at us. These mechanics are welcome additions to the game, and they greatly help with the pacing and identity of each chapter. Visually, the first area of Chapter 5 harkens back to Chapter 1, but instead of being interrupted with the basic block and switch puzzles, we got sprinting through the Torii gates, mushroom physics, watering can functionality, hedge trimming technology. These additions make the moments between story and combat feel much more like a game. The feather mechanic is the real highlight here. Transitioning from RPG to 2D side-scroller is so smooth, and there are plenty of added bullet encounters and interactive blocks and side mechanics that make it feel really fleshed out by Undertale mechanic standards. It reached a point where I was worried for a bit that my steak was too juicy because the first 3 areas of the game flowed into each other so nicely, and I suspected I might not be able to latch onto the characters as much without a steady barrage of Toby Fox Comedy Hour skits that just stop the game in its tracks every 5 seconds. But somehow, in spite of this, there isn't a single weak link mechanic here. Maybe I was an idiot for thinking that Toby Fox would suddenly drop the ball in character writing. It should come as no surprise that this continues to be where he excels as a storyteller. He managed to do more with the 7 flowers than most writers can get done with a single character. I think this is largely thanks to how the flowers feel like a family. Themes of love loudly reverberate in each scene as we uncover each of the dynamics between these new characters. I especially adore how this translates to the combat, as we get a wide variety of team attacks. These characters all have their shortcomings, but those weaknesses disappear when they're together. That's how you do it! That's engaging storytelling and gameplay marriage! I love how silly Aqua is. I love how pathetic Sephiroth is. I love how suicidal Yellow is. Green doesn't have a single line of dialogue, and Toby managed to make her one of the best characters in this chapter. Gun to my head, if I had to pick a weak link, I would say Orange. I don't think she has as much going on compared to the other flowers, and her jokes land a bit flat. Pink is also a bit questionable. Their inclusion felt extremely disjointed from the flower family politics going on in the main narrative, and even for a secret boss, it felt like it was less influential to the broader themes of the story. They do reinforce some topics regarding love, and they mirror Chris's trapped soul and body dynamic, but that's about it. The final castle section in this chapter may not be as electric as Pandora's Palace or TV World, but I think it should be in consideration for best overall, solely because of how well it plays with the cast of characters. Most of the legwork for half of the flowers is saved for the castle, and it's executed so well. They also save a lot of interesting commentary for this section of the game as well. Flowery makes some really valid points against the main cast. I mean, why should they be forced to seal their fountain when the fountain in Castletown gets to remain? Why shouldn't they do everything in their power to help Asgore when the outside world has treated him with nothing but cruelty? With cruelty. Despite entering this chapter with the strongest motivation yet to seal a dark fountain, the work done with the 7 flowers left me feeling with the most guilt upon doing so. The real treat for this section were these subversions of our expectation and moments of introspection to where our characters are at in their journey. My favorite reveal was slowly learning that Asgore is not in any real danger of succumbing to the allure of the fantasy world. He's much more focused on gathering the proof that he needs. We come to realize that the fears placed on Asgore are much more applicable to Susie. Jumping ahead a bit, but the ending scene of her secluding herself to the dark world is so heartbreaking. Despite all the strides she's been making in the real world, she's slowly losing herself more and more to the dark. The dark cannot hurt her or let her down the way the real world has. You don't need to throw away any of the takeaways you were constructing regarding Asgore's relationship with his dark world, because those thoughts will later apply to Susie. Anyways, all the momentum built through this chapter leads to one of the most exciting and spectacular climaxes in Deltarune. The ending battle is a clash of ideals on a level of intensity not seen in earlier chapters. Regardless of if you loved or hated Flowery in these early sections of the chapter, it's hard not to root for him in these final moments. It wasn't a secret up until this point that he was strong. That intimidation is what makes players hungry for the inevitable confrontation, and what an absolute gift of a follow-through in that promise. Flowery is everything that a final boss should be. He manages to combine that overwhelming aura with a power of friendship into a Girona so dense it risks creating a black hole and destroying us all. That music is what gets... hold on, let me change the audio track. Okay. That music gets my blood pumping. I've been listening to it all day. The final clash against Flowery is the type of shit I'm gonna be screaming from the rooftops for the next decade. I seriously don't know if Toby will be able to top this in the next few chapters. And I haven't even mentioned that all of this applies before the appearance of the Knight and Flowery's last stand against him. What a great finale! So many emotional payoffs and lingering stings as we transition to that final scene with Susie. Par of the course. It's fucking amazing. What else could you expect? Get off Twitter. 5 out of 5.